Y'all, we're making chocolate gravy. Come on. Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find, test, and sometimes create the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling something a little bit different, chocolate gravy. Stay tuned. All right, guys, you heard that right, chocolate gravy. That's going to sound pretty weird to a lot of you, but if you're from the deep American South, or at least certain pockets of it, you've either had this, lots of times probably, or you've heard of this. My family wasn't a chocolate gravy family, but many of the people around me, their families and friends were, and so that's how I learned of it. When I say pockets of the American South, it's because it really kind of hugs the areas of the Appalachian Mountains and the Ozark Mountains. A lot of the lower South and the coastal regions, it wasn't really as popular there as some of the mountainous regions up here. And there's some history there. A lot of historians say it originated from Melungeon cuisine, which is, those were indentured servants from sub-Saharan Africa and Europe that were brought over to Virginia. And so from there, the Spanish Louisiana cuisine was brought up and traded with the Tennessee Valley. And so that's sort of the use of chocolate in Mexican cuisine sort of made its way into these hilly mountainous regions of the South. Some other food historians say it's a lot simpler than that. It's just because Hershey's cocoa became really popular in America around the turn of the century and slightly before. So whatever it is, it has become a staple in a lot of homes for particularly weekend breakfasts. It's served on top of flaky buttermilk biscuits, and it is a gravy. It's generally made with some sort of fat, often bacon or sausage fat or butter, flour, cocoa powder, and sugar, vanilla, butter, and you cook that down and make a beautiful gravy. It's sort of like a thin chocolate pudding, but it's not like a chocolate syrup. It's something completely different. I wanted to make a low carb version of this. If you've watched the testing we did with Victoria's Keto Kitchen, her flour, those biscuits, those dream biscuits, I'll put the video link up here. Those things are freaking amazing. And I've certainly had them many times in my own kitchen with sausage gravy, but I thought, let's try it with chocolate gravy. So we're gonna do that today. So let's get started on that right now. This is gonna be a quick video, goes pretty fast. All right, so like all gravies, this is going to start with a fat. And I'm going to use I'm going to give you the ingredients here. This is, I would call this a well-heaped teaspoon of bacon fat. Now, because this is made for breakfast, generally you're going to do this in the pan, in the skillet that you've probably already cooked some sausage in, some breakfast sausage, or some bacon. You're going to pour off the fat and leave yourself about a teaspoon or two of bacon fat. And you're like, chocolate and bacon and sausage? Yeah, there's a reason, like maple breakfast sausage is so good, and like donuts with chocolate glaze and bacon bits on top are very good. Sweet and savory, salty, sweet, those go really well together, particularly at breakfast. And this is no exception. So if you have some bacon fat, I would start with that. If you don't have, you're not wanting to use bacon fat, or you're just wanting to make this without the savory portion of it, which you can do, but this really kicks it up a notch, then just use butter here. So this is going to go pretty quickly. Normally in a gravy, you would make a roux, right? We would put flour on that and cook that together. Well, obviously we're not going to use flour. And in chocolate gravy, even traditional chocolate gravy, you don't make a roux. That all your liquid and dry ingredients go in together and you cook it slowly. So you're not browning and making a brown roux. So that makes it easy to convert to low carb, because what we're going to do is just increase or decrease the liquids and increase some of the creams. Over about medium heat, I'm going to just quickly melt this. This is our bacon fat here. And we're going to add in first our sweetener. This is going to depend on what you're using, and I'll explain in a minute. This is 1/3 of a cup of allulose, okay? And it's going to depend on what chocolate you're using, because I am using, so this is where normally you would use a cocoa powder. And let me turn this down because I don't want this to burn, and I want to explain something to you. You can use cocoa powder. If you're using cocoa powder, you would put about a quarter of a cup, but I'm using Cacao Bliss, and this is actually today's sponsor of the video. And so this is a third a cup of Cacao Bliss. If you're using cocoa powder, you would use a quarter cup. Of the Cacao Bliss, I'm going to use a third of a cup, and I'm going to explain that in just a moment. To this, we're going to add a cup of almond milk. You can use almond milk or coconut milk, whichever you prefer. This goes right in. You're not cooking that cocoa and chocolate yet. We're going to cook that down with the liquid. Use a whisk to get this done. A spiral whisk like this really helps. And then also we're going to add in a half cup of heavy whipping cream, and this goes in too. Normally you would just be using milk for traditional chocolate gravy. Some families just use water and cook that down, but because we don't have the flour to thicken this up like in a traditional, we're going to use the heavy cream to do that here. So this is going to cook down for about 5 to 7 minutes. Can go up to 10 minutes. You would normally do this, like I said, in the skillet that you've cooked your bacon or sausage in. But if you are just making it in a saucepan, you can do that as well. Now, I just wanted to talk about, you can use cocoa powder, traditional cocoa powder in this. Again, if you're using cocoa powder, you use a quarter cup. But I'm using Cacao Bliss, and this is today's sponsor. It's a superfood elixir blend. I've been using this. They sent it to me, what, in February, March, April, May. So I've been using this about 3 months. It is fantastic. It is so good. You just put a tablespoon in just some hot milk, cold milk, hot water. I even add it to smoothies. It is great. Like just throw a tablespoon in some cottage cheese or ricotta cheese. Oh, it's so good. It is different from cocoa powder in that it is the pure cacao bean. It has not been processed using heat like traditional cocoa powder has been. This also has a lot of keto friendly and low carb friendly things like MCT oil, which we already know a lot of people add to things like the bulletproof coffee, you know, things like that. It's got other superfoods, turmeric in it, Himalayan sea salt, cinnamon. It is delicious, delicious, delicious. So thank you, Cacao Bliss, for sponsoring this. It's by Earth Echo Foods. And if you'll go to, I'll leave a link in the pinned comment. It'll also be in the video description below. It's shop.earthechofoods.com/highfalutin low carb. And you can use the discount code WES to get a special discount on that. So you guys know that sponsorships aren't why I do this, they're how I do this. And sponsorships like Earth Echo Foods help keep channels like mine on the air. And for that, I'm truly appreciative. So I thought I'd make a quick little recipe today to show you one other way that I use this. But again, if you just want to use cocoa powder, you can, but you're not going to get all the health benefits that come from the ceremonial grade Cacao Bliss that I'm using. That's also why I adjusted some of the sweetener. This has a little bit of a natural sweetener in it. It's still less than 1 net carb per tablespoon, but it does have some natural sweeteners in it. So we're going to just let this cook down, try to scrape the sides good, keep this moving, and then this is just going to cook down for 7 minutes or so until this gets to a nice thick gravy consistency here shortly. And then we're going to add our last 2 ingredients, which is just a knob of butter, about a tablespoon of butter to finish it, and a couple of teaspoons of vanilla extract. And then we're going to throw these on one of those beautiful dream biscuits that I made, again, that you saw up here in that other video. So I'm going to speed this up so you can see how this cooks down. I'll meet you right back here in just a bit. Okay, so this has been about 8 minutes, 9 minutes that this has been cooking down. I've taken it off the heat. I'm off the heat here. As you can see, this is getting nice and sort of thick and unctuous. What we want to do now is add a little bit of, here I'm making a mess, is add a little bit of butter and vanilla. So to this, we're going to just throw in our vanilla extract. That's 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And then, like I said, a knob of butter. This is a nice fat tablespoon of butter. And then we're just going to slowly let that melt in, and that sort of gives everything a nice glossy sheen right here at the end. Again, this is fantastic on biscuits. This was, you know, this was food of a very poor group of people. You know, these are people in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And so this was a special occasion. You know, this was, when I said weekends, this would have been made, you know, on a Saturday or Sunday morning. A grandmother or a mother would have made this for the family, and it would have been a special treat. And we're going to treat it like that today as well. It's fantastic. I can tell you, warm on just plain vanilla ice cream. Get you some low carb or keto vanilla ice cream, put a dollop of this on top, even go with the bacon. Like if you've got some crunchy pieces of bacon, that is fantastic as well. We just use the bacon fat here to get the flavor, but a lot of families would serve crumbled bacon with the grease that they've cooked the gravy in right on top of the biscuit. So I'm gonna let this sit for just a minute. You can see the consistency here. It's leaving a trail. You wanna keep moving that the whole time you're cooking it because it will burn. I'm gonna gather our biscuits up and we're gonna serve this up, and we'll test it. So I'll meet you right back here in just a bit. Okay, so I've got our biscuits, and if you haven't made these beautiful biscuits yet from the Dream Biscuits, these were by America's Test Kitchen, and we used Victoria's Keto Kitchen flour. I made these earlier today, so I'm just gonna split these. They keep wonderfully too. Look at that gorgeous flaky biscuit. These were one of the most surprising things I have ever made on my channel, so I love them. So we're just gonna spoon some of our chocolate gravy on top, and normally you do this like 4. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to make another one that's all pretty and dressed up for my thumbnail, because this one's just gonna be sloppy and wonderful because I'm about to tear into it. And then put your biscuit little top on half like that. Put you a little more. Oh. So again, if you had some crumbled bacon, that's where that would go right on top. Some crumbled sausage in there is even great. Kids, adults, the whole family screams about, and everybody used to love to go have your aunt or your grandma's chocolate gravy for breakfast. So you see what I mean? It's almost like a custard. It's so thick, but yet runny like a gravy. It's warm. The biscuit is good. The gravy is embarrassingly good. This was a way for poor families to have chocolate, because chocolate was so expensive. Cocoa powder made making things like this affordable for the average family. And even if you didn't have milk, you'd make it with water. Holy smokes. All right, guys, I knew that was going to be good because I've made it before, and it's just a traditional recipe. It's super, super easy, and I just used the recipe that's in one of a dozen different family cookbooks that I've got. You can find, if you don't want to make this and you just want to make the traditional one, look it up. It's just chocolate gravy, Appalachian chocolate gravy, Southern chocolate gravy, but this was fantastic. So there you have it, folks, chocolate gravy. If you try it, please let me know down below. If you've had it before, please let me know down below and what you think of this low carb version of it. I say this every time. These videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking at the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. So I appreciate that you guys have come along for the journey. I'm going to ask you to please like this video, hit the thumbs up, lets the algorithm know that this is a video that you liked, and they can share it with other people with similar interests. Also, if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button and the bell button down below. It'll let you know just as soon as I release a new video. You can also find me over on Facebook and Instagram. It's under Highfalutin Low Carb. I talk a little more frequently and a little more freely over there, so please join me over there. I also need to again thank the sponsor of this video, Earth Echo Foods, for the fabulous Cacao Bliss. They also have some Chai Bliss that they accidentally sent me one time that is just as good. Again, a tablespoon of it in your coffee, or just in some hot water or some hot milk is fantastic. Thank you for sponsoring this video. It's sponsorships like yours that keep channels like mine on the air, and for that I am truly appreciative. The link is below. It's shop.earthechofoods.com/highfalutin low carb. Carb. Use the discount code WEST to get a special discount on the Cacao Bliss. Lastly, I need to thank my rock stars, my Patreon members. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it as the tip jar for the internet. It lets people like you who enjoy what people like me do here on YouTube. You can give $1 or $2 a month just to keep the train on the tracks. You'll see their names starting to scroll over here, and without them, none of this would be possible. They truly are my rock stars. All right, guys, I love you very much. I'll see you in the next video, and remember, today is a great day to have a great day.